Hey guys, in this section what we're going to do is insert some data into our database using SQL. We can do this through PHPMyAdmin or another tool, but I want to get you, I want to introduce you to the command line, to the MySQL command line, and we can basically do anything we want from there. We can insert data, we can select data, update, we can do pretty much anything. So if you have XAMPP installed, it's a little tricky to get to the MySQL command line. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to show you how to get to it, navigating to the directory we need to get to, and then logging in. And then I'm going to show you, we're going to create a batch file and put it on our desktop so we can just click that and it will open a command prompt for us and we'll be able to run MySQL. Alright, so you can use standard Windows command line. If you go to this search box and type in CMD and hit enter, and it'll bring you to a window like this. I also have a program called Git Bash, which allows you to use a Git repository, which we're not going to do, but and you can also run Linux-like commands here. So if you want this Git Bash, I believe it's git-scm.com, I believe. git-scm.com, I'm pretty sure. But I'm not going to use this, I'm just going to use the standard Windows command line. Alright, so what we want to do is navigate to our MySQL bin folder. So let's go to the root. So we say cd space /, which brings us to the C drive, and we want to navigate to our XAMPP folder, which should be in our C drive. Alright, yeah, it's right here. And then we want to go into MySQL and then into the bin. Alright, and this is where we can run mysql.exe. So we want to change directory and we want to go in XAMPP XAMPP/MySQL/bin. Alright, and if we do a dir, that'll show us the contents of this folder, which is the same as this here. Alright, so to run MySQL, we have to say mysql.exe, and we need to log in here as well. So we'll say --user. My user is root. Alright, and then we're going to do --password, and my password is 1234. Alright, so now we're in. You can see that we're in because you see this prompt here, this MySQL, and then the greater than symbol. So we're in SQL now. And we can do stuff like show databases. And you want to end it with a semicolon or it's just going to give you a new line. Alright, so you can see all of our databases, including store. Alright, so basically this is the same information as when we were in PHPMyAdmin. Alright, before we go any further with this, I want to create that batch file so that we don't have to navigate to this directory and do all that work when we don't need to. So what we want to do, we'll close this, and I'm going to create a new text file, and we're going to call this MySQL command.bat. Alright, and if you can't see file extensions here, you can see how we can see the .bat, then you need to go and enable show extensions. So open up any Windows Explorer folder and go to Organize, and then Folder and Search Options, and on View you want to make sure that you have this Hide Extensions for Known File Types. You want that unchecked. By default I believe it's checked, so you just want to uncheck that so we can see our file extensions. Alright, now let's open this. You want to open this with Notepad. I'm going to use Notepad++, and we want to add some some text in here. We want to say echo off, and then we want to say echo starting MySQL command line. And then we want to go to the directory, which is, let me see, it's going to be C examp slash MySQL slash bin slash MySQL dot exe. And this is basically the same stuff that we typed in the editor. My user is root, and my password is 1234. And then we just want to type pause. Alright, so this should do it. Let's save this and close it, and then if we run that, it's going to bring us right to our MySQL. Alright, so very, very handy little file. Now we can go over some basic commands here. If we want to create a database, we can do that as well. We can say create database mytestdb, and you want to put a semicolon and then enter, and you can see it says query OK, one row affected. Let's open up phpMyAdmin just so we can get a graphical view of our databases. And you can see right here we have mytestdb. I just created this in that command line. Now we can create tables from the command line, and of course run other queries like select and insert. And I want to show you some insert queries so we can add data to our database, but I just want to show you how to create a table, and we need to do use mytestdb. Okay, so we can say show tables. Now we're not gonna get anything because we don't have any tables, so let's create a table. Let's say create table, and we'll just call this my test table. And now we want to put in our fields. Alright, so let's just say let's see, we'll do my test field 1 and my test field 2, and we want to specify the data type. So after my test field 1, we want to say varchar, and we'll just say 20. That's the limit. So basically doing the same thing that we did in phpMyAdmin. So we'll create another one, we'll say my test field 2, which will also be varchar with 20. Alright, so if we click enter, we have an error. Okay, near double quotes. Now if you click the up arrow, it'll bring back your last command. Let's see, create table, my test table. Oh, we need another ending parentheses right here. Alright, because we have this beginning parentheses, which is where we define our fields, and we have a varchar, and we put that in parentheses, another varchar, put the 20 in parentheses, and then we still need the closing one. So that should do it. Alright, so now if we say show tables, I always forget that semicolon. Alright, so we have my test table, and if we go back to phpMyAdmin and reload, we have our table. And if we click on it, go to structure, we can see our fields. Alright, now that table doesn't have this table doesn't have a primary key, so let's create another table in our test database, and we'll create an ID with a primary key. Alright, so we want to basically we'll just use this, and we'll go ahead and change the table name. We'll just say my test table 2, and then before the test field 1, let's create a field called ID, and that's going to be an integer. We'll say 11, and then we're going to say not null, auto increment, and that should have an underscore in between the words, and then primary key, which doesn't have an underscore, and then a comma. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. Query OK. If we go back and reload, we now have a test table 2. Go to structure. You can see we have our ID and its auto increment. Let's make sure that the primary key is there. Actually, it's not going to show us through here. You can see right here, primary key. You can see that it's silver. All right, so that's good. Let's see what else. Show tables. All right, so I want to insert some data, but I don't want to use this test database. I basically just created this to show you how we can create a database and tables and fields from within the command line. So I want to go to our store database. So all I have to do is type in use store. Okay, we can show tables, and there's our tables. Now let's insert some product categories first, and let me just go to that database here as well. Okay, so product categories, we have one. We have our electronics. So let's go ahead and I guess I should show you the syntax first. Let me open up Notepad real quick here. Now the syntax is, there's actually two different ways you can do this. We can say insert into, and then we want the table name. Okay, so table name, and then we want to say values, and then in here, let's say that this table has an ID field, a first name field, and a last name field. Now if we're going to insert every field, we don't have to put the names of the column. So we could say 1 Brad Traversy. Okay, so what this is going to do is going to insert a table with the ID of 1 and the name, the first name Brad, last name Traversy, and you can see that the integers don't have quotes and the strings will have quotes. All right, now usually we won't define the ID. Okay, so we won't be doing this very much. We will be specifying the column name because we're not going to be doing the ID. It's auto increment. It'll increase with every entry. All right, so what we're going to do is insert into table name. All right, and we're going to open up some parentheses, and we would say first name, last name, and then values would be Brad. Alright, so this would be what we're going to do because we're not going to define the ID. Okay, so with that information, let's close that up, and let's go ahead and add a category. So we'll say why do I keep messing that up? Insert into store. Alright, so what do we have here? I'm sorry, not store. We want product categories, not the name of the database. Okay, so insert into product categories. So we have a name, a description, and what, an image. Alright, now if I click enter, it's just going to bring us to a new line, which is fine. Alright, so we're going to say values, sorry about that. Values will be, let's say, fashion, and now the description, let's see, we'll just say the latest fashions and accessories, and then the image, which would be a path to a file. So we'll just say images / fashion.jpg. Alright, let's click enter. We get OK, one row affected. So let's go ahead and make sure that that's there. If we reload, now you can see we have the fashion category. Alright, and you can also easily insert information, insert data from PHP-MyAdmin, which we've already done. You can click insert, or you can just double click on the actual column, and let's give this an image. We'll say images electronics.jpg. Alright, so that would be the easier way to do it, but all developers should know how to deal with the database through SQL queries. So let's do one more here, and then I'll show you how we can insert multiple values or multiple rows within one statement. So let me just click the up, which is unfortunately only going to give us by line, so we'll have to say enter and then values, and let's just change these values. Alright, let's create a category called music, and we want to change the description. We'll say music, instruments, and albums, and then the image will be music.jpg. Alright, and now what I want to do is show you how to insert multiple rows through one query. So we'll say insert, this is going to be the same, and then enter, and now we can do our categories. So let's say sports, description, sporting equipment, and I don't know, jerseys. Okay, and then the image, say sports.jpg. Alright, so now we can put a comma here, and we can add another one. So we'll put our parentheses, and let's put back our home and garden category. We'll say products for your home, and that's going to have an image called images / home.jpg, and we'll put one more, so we'll do another comma, and we'll call this auto. Description, auto parts and accessories, and finally the image path, images / auto.jpg. Alright, so instead of a comma, we want to put a semicolon to end this statement, and let me just look it over real quick. Alright, looks good. Alright, so we have an error. Alright, so I'm just going to paste in my query because we seem to be having a problem I can't find. So let's just look at this. Alright, so we have insert into product categories, name, description, image, then values, then we have 3 records that we're inserting. Okay, sporting goods, auto, home and garden. They all have a title, description, and an image. Okay, ends with a semicolon, and then that works. Alright, so now if we go and check it, now we have all of our product categories. Now I want to enter some products as well, and I just want to show you that we don't need to use the command line in order to use SQL. We can actually just go to our database and click on the SQL tab, and we can do the same stuff in here that we did in the command line. So what I'm going to do is insert some products. Alright, and I'm just going to paste these in because we're kind of running out of time. Alright, so we got quite a few products, and we're inserting the name, description, price, category, and image. Okay, now the category is going to be an ID, which is our foreign key to our categories table, or our product categories table. So you can see I have a Surface tablet, we get the description, we have the price, category 1 is electronics, and then we have the image path. Alright, so I have a couple electronics, we have some car seat covers and floor mats that will go in the auto category. We have some baseball gloves and treadmills and stuff that will go in the sports category. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to run this. Alright, so we got 11 rows inserted. So now if we go to our products table, we now have a bunch of products. Now I want to insert some other data as well. I want to insert some customers with their address, maybe a couple reviews, because we need data to work with. I want to show you how to do selects and joins and all that. So and also use PHP to look up records. So what I'm going to do is just paste in some more code into our SQL window. And I'm not going to paste in anything new. It's just going to be some insert statements like we just saw. First thing will be some customers. Alright, so we get some customers with their first name, last name, email, and I'm just using 1234 as their passwords. If this was a real life application, we wouldn't be storing regular text passwords. They would be encrypted. Alright, and then we just have their avatar. Alright, so all these that I'm going to paste in, they should run. It should all work because the IDs are all tied to their foreign keys, and we have everything set up how we need it. So if we click go, we get 7 rows inserted, and we can check that in the customers table. You can see we have all our customers now. Alright, so let's go back to the SQL window. Now what I'm going to do is paste in addresses. Okay, so I'm going to paste that in, and the first value is the customer ID. I'm just going in order. You don't have to do that, but just to make it look better and look more readable. And basically they all live on Main Street, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70 Main Street. And then this field here is the address to field, and we know that not everybody has a second line, an apartment number or something like that. So what I'm doing is setting those to null, the ones that don't have it. And the ones that do, I'll put in their apartment or their unit. And then we have the city. I have a different city for everybody. State, I'm using the abbreviations, and then zip code. Alright, so let's add that. Alright, so we have something wrong here. Server version, New York. Let's see. What do we have going on here? Oh, I don't have quotes around the apartments and units. Alright, so this unit 10 should have quotes, and that 18 should have quotes. Alright, let's try that again. Alright, so that's good. Now what I want to put in is some reviews. Alright, so we just basically have the review title, the review description, which is very short, and then the user ID, and I'm sorry, this is the rating, and then the user ID, and then the product ID. Okay, so actually user with the ID of 1 has written both of these reviews. Okay, these two, we have user 8 and user 2 that have written on the same, I'm sorry, user 3 and user 5 that have written on the same product, which is product 4. Alright, let's see, what do we, cannot add or update child row, foreign key constraint. Huh. Customer. You know what? Let me check out. Let me check out the reviews table. Check out the relation view. Store customer's ID is the customer. Product. You know what? Let's actually change this to no action. And let's go try that again. Alright, it's still giving us this error. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna see what's going on here and I'll be right back. Alright, I think I know what's wrong. I think that we're referencing either a customer or a product that doesn't exist. Alright, so let's just check. Let's check the customers and look at the IDs. So we have 1 through 7, and then let's look at products. Alright, so products, we don't have a product with the ID of 2. So that's what's going on. Alright, so let's go back. Let's go back to the SQL window. And we can see here, this is referencing product 2, which doesn't exist. So I'm just going to change that. I'll change it to product 5. Alright, so there we go. Now I'm going to go back and take that no action off of the reviews table. I want it to restrict. Alright, so the last thing we need to do is paste in some page categories and then some pages. And then we should have our database filled in with data. Okay, so page categories, we're going to have 3: services, portfolio, and company. And then I'm going to paste in some pages. Okay, so you get 3 pages. Our work and testimonials are going to be in the same page category, which is portfolio. Alright, so there's our categories. There's our reviews. Alright, so now we can start to work with this data. We can create select statements and all that, update, delete. So that's what we'll start to get into in the next few sections.